It's like delayed going into second. Oh, these are supposed to be dry clutch setups. All that is water. The clutch is not disengaging. It's moving. Yeah, make sure you keep yourself quite lubed. We definitely have a fuel issue. Let's grab a handful for you. But I don't have second and third. Whoa, look at this. Oh my goodness. Is that the clutches right there? Oh, I just took a bath. There we go. Yeah, there's some major clutch material missing. There is no clutch material on that one, and this is our reverse. The second you put this into the dirt and you start pushing dirt with it, the clutches are going to start slipping. But I think what we're going to do while I wait for parts is the actual shifting mechanism is loose and needs some bushings or tightening up. I'm not exactly sure what it needs. But let's go outside, let's get that ripped off, and we'll start working on that, try and figure out what we can do to fix that while we wait on parts for the transmission. So here is the control linkage for the transmission and the throttle, and there's just a ton of play in there. I've got most of the linkages disconnected. I already have this. This is for the throttle. We're going to take this in there and see if there's anything loose in that, and there might be a little bit. I'm less concerned about this, because the throttle works okay. What doesn't work the greatest is the linkage for the forward neutral reverse. So we've got 3 bolts in there to take off and 1 bolt on this. Here's the mechanism that we just pulled out, and essentially there's a bunch of side-to-side play here, a bunch of side-to-side play there, and this thing in there is real wobbly. So I think to get it out, we have to put this pin out and punch this roll pin here. So let's do that. All right, there we go. We got it apart. So, looks to me like there's a bronze bushing in there, and there might be one on each side. So if I take the pin, it doesn't look like it has a ridiculous amount of wear, but I can feel some grooves in it. But when I put it in the bushing, you hear that clicking? It's not a lot of side-to-side play movement on there, but enough that it would, between that and all the other joints, it would add up. Let's try this one. This one's going to ride right there. Let's try the middle. So yeah, see that? That's a bunch of play. And as complicated as this thing is, all of those add up to difficulty getting the linkage to actually be tight. I don't think these on the end, they're a little loose. Those have bushings in there? I don't see bushings in the end ones. So there's certainly play in that. although there is no bushing in it, is just part of this housing. This is just for the safety, but it's got a bunch of play. And it looks like if I take this cotter pin out, pull that spring off, so it goes under and then over, under there and then over there. So there's a bunch of play there. I'm much less concerned about that one. If I can tighten that one up, I will. If it's pretty simple, if I can replace the pin maybe. But I'm most concerned about these linkages here. The other thing is the heads of them, the actual joint isn't the greatest either. So maybe I'll see if I've got any of those laying around. Well, at least these 3 or 6 bushings need to be replaced. It kind of looks like there's one on each side here. Probably the same. Nope, one single one in there. And one on each side there. So, total of 5 bushings in that. That'll probably make a big difference. Alright, so what I'm finding is one of the most worn out pieces is this shaft. And there's a bunch of wear right in the middle where this piece slides. Let's see if I can kind of just keep that together. So there's a bunch of wear in the middle and then the other pieces. So I went and dug through my stash and I found this pin. This is a hardened pin. It actually is almost exactly perfect lengthwise, but I can't drill it at this point. So I also found this piece of round rod, which I think this is just mild steel and is just kind of worn over time. That's what this is, I believe. I cleaned it up a little bit because I also found these. So these are bronze or brass bushings. I think they're bronze bushings. And they are exactly the size that I need. Perfect fit. There's technically 2 in here, 2 in here, but I think I could probably get away with 1. And they're supposed to only be a 1/2 inch long. This is 1 inch long. These are each 1 inch long. And then in this block, there's another one. There's a couple small ones here. But before we do the bushings, I'm actually going to replace the rod itself and find out. We're going to see if this fixes the whole problem and makes it much tighter. If not, we've got the bushing material. We can cut these down into 1/2 inch chunks and use that. So I'm going to get this cleaned up in the wire wheel real quick. We'll come back, we'll put it in, and we'll see if we can get a hole drilled through it for the roll pin. And then we're just going to test it because I want to see how it feels. So I got this cleaned up, and it is exactly 1/2 inch round bar. So it's a little longer than this one, but when I put this guy in, which is exactly the same length, it's crazy. I didn't cut this bar. It's exactly how I had it in my thing of pins. This fits perfectly in there. So I haven't tried this one yet. Yeah, it fits perfect. So it sticks out a little bit there and a little bit there, which it didn't from the factory, which is totally fine with me. So we got to drill a hole here for the roll pin. Man, that feels so much tighter. There is no up and down play on that at all. I don't think we need to do the bushings. I think the bushings may have been replaced at some point and somebody just thought, oh, this pin will be fine. If I can tighten this up for free, great. There is a little bit of play, so when this piece here goes inside of this like that, there's a little bit of play, and the only way to get rid of that play is to get a new block or weld and machine that back down. I don't want to mess with that because the tolerances need to be wide enough that this thing can move side to side, because when it goes over to this side, you can then go down for your first, second, third, and when it comes over to this side, you go down for reverse. and that moves these independently. And so I don't want to mess with that tolerance there. I just want to try and take up anything we can. I also was able to bring this up a little bit higher on this rod, took out some play there. I tightened up this by adding that washer right there, so there's a lot less play there. I bent the spring so it fits better. I tightened up this rod with some washers. This is for the latch that keeps you from being able to put it in any gear but neutral. And then forward gears, back up over, reverse gear. So let's see if we can get a hole drilled in this. Definitely mild steel. All right, here's our new rod, got the hole in it. So if I stick this in here, there is quite literally almost no play, just a little tiny bit. Same with this side, just about no play. Now this middle one though, it's got more. It's got, and it's less than with the old rod, the old shaft here. There's quite a bit more in that. So my thought is we're going to take this block off. We're going to replace that bushing for sure. There's the old one. Okay. I'm gonna hit that with the wire wheel real quick. Deburr that and we'll put it back together. It is so much tighter. There is literally almost no play. And the only thing you're seeing it move that way, but perfect. Way tighter, man. Everything is way tighter. So I'm going to leave the bushing here. I'm going to leave the bushings in these alone. And then there's bushings here that seem pretty tight. Really, I think it was that rod and that center bushing on this piece. Yeah, let's go with that. All right, here are the track covers for the Dozer. This is the one that I've been beaten back into shape. All of these seams were cracked. A whole bunch of these holes were pretty much completely worn out. So like you saw, we just welded some tabs with holes on it so that we can get a lot thicker metal. It's probably 1/4 inch thick instead of this, I don't know, 12 gauge metal that this was before. Now, the other thing, because this is a wide track machine, this is the step that you're supposed to, they give you to step up onto to get into the Dozer. Well, it's quite literally useless because it doesn't come out far enough for you to actually make it so that it's useful. So my plan is to cut it off like I did on this one. Right here and here's where it was welded on, and make something wider both this way and this way. So we want it to be a wider step, but we also want it to come out further. So let's take this track cover outside. We'll measure it up. Got a few options. Got this treading that we can cut some pieces out of. Got some of this here that we could possibly use, but I'm kind of leaning toward maybe using some of this plate here and then just creating a triangle of steel under it in a couple spots to support it and then just welding it up solid. Also got a few pieces of diamond plate that we could make something out of. I don't know. I think that if I did this stuff, it'd probably end up bending a heck of a lot easier. If I go with something solid like this, which is got to be 3/8 of an inch thick steel, it's going to be way more durable in the long run. So this original one is probably, I don't know, originally might have been 1/16 of an inch steel. But, I mean, this thing's old. It's been used and abused. And because I'm upgrading it, because I'm fixing it, we might as well and make the step better. So let's take this outside and see what we can figure out. I think it's something like that. Just inside the tracks, solid enough that it's gonna be able to take a beating. And right between, so there's the handlebar and the main one right there. Need a battery.
I think that's going to work really nice.
All right, one thing I want to do before we put this transmission back together is I want to check the rear main seal on the engine. So there's a seal for the crankshaft right behind the flywheel here, and it is extremely difficult to get to because you have to take the transmission out. Well, we're already here, so it is the perfect time to replace that seal, and I think that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to pull this flywheel off real quick, and we'll have a look at it. I need a bigger impact. There we have it. And it does look like it's been leaking. Right there, I can see. Maybe. To get that out, we're probably gonna have to drill a hole and slide hammer it out. So then this whole bell housing comes off. You take these bolts off, there's a gasket that goes between the actual engine block and the bell housing. And the starter is bolted to the bell housing. It has a gasket between it, and then it's sealed inside the starter there so that oil doesn't get into the starter. Getting that seal out and replacing it at this moment in time is absolutely a great idea because, again, like I said, the transmission is out and the work it would take to do it later is a lot. So I'm going to look into what it takes. I know there's a special tool to press the seal in properly. Maybe I can do it without the tool. This is our rear main seal right here. And then this little lip that my fingernail's catching on there, that is the speedy sleeve, or the sleeve, that rides on the crankshaft. This is the back of the crankshaft. This sleeve keeps the wear off the crankshaft. So it wears on this sleeve, this little metal sleeve, instead of on the actual crank, saving it, because then it makes it so that this sleeve is replaceable. And sometimes you can get away with just doing the seal and not worrying about the sleeve. I can't really tell how good the sleeve is until we get the seal out, but it looks like it's a 7W3202, which parts manual says it should be a 3200. There's some conflicting information, and I do believe this is a different engine than what was originally in this tractor. It has a different serial number than what's on the badge on the engine itself. So it's newer. The serial number is much newer than what was in this thing originally. So it is very possible that it has the newer seal. It takes a different press tool to press it in there. It's just a matter of, do I want to spend $400 to get the tool? The seal is like, from Cat's $75 for the seal, or $78, and then online I think I can find it for like 20, something like that, maybe in the teens. But no matter what, we're gonna replace this. I kind of wiped it down. I want to see if any engine oil leaks over the next couple of days because I've got other things to do. I'm not going to be jumping on this right away, but I wanted to pull the flywheel off and just have a gander. I don't think I have to take the bell housing off to get the new seal in, which is good. I don't think the gasket behind it's leaking, so I don't really think I want to mess with it at this time. So now I know what part to get, and I'll get that ordered. We'll get that coming, and let's jump on to something else. All right, so here's the edge of the flywheel, and you can kind of see how it's kind of like a little bit lower. It has not been hitting perfectly, and that wear isn't really all that bad. Right there, that's pretty much what it should look like, brand new. So there's a few spots that are kind of bad. Spot right here, it's getting kind of bad. So two things, I could grind all these with a grinder and kind of smooth them all out. But the gear itself, the actual, this piece, is removable. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to flip it. They're straight teeth, and so it literally will not hurt us at all, assuming it all goes right, to heat this outer ring. It expands. It should drop off. We flip it over, and then we heat it up again, and then it goes back down. So that's the plan. Bingo. Easy enough. Just checking the gap to make sure that the gap on the back side of it is even. And it looks perfect. Got it all the way down. It's hot. So we're gonna let that cool. Very nice. There we go. Perfectly flipped. And all the teeth on this side don't have all the nicks in it, which will be great because the starter comes in contacts with this side of the flywheel gear. And it was way easier to flip it than it was to clean up every one of these teeth individually. All right, on to the next thing. I got a few things to do before we get the transmission and everything ready to put that in. I'm waiting for parts on the transmission, so we're gonna jump over here to the alternator, and it's not charging. So my plan is to take it apart, or we're gonna remove it and figure out what is causing it not to charge. The other thing we're gonna do at the same time is this belt needs replaced, and I've got a new one for that. So let's get this alternator off. Two washers back here. There they go. All right, let's see what's wrong with you. See if we can get it open. I hate when they use Phillips head bolts. I think we got that one. Yep, that one's loose. Should be only 3. The screwdriver, it did. It just broke. Weird. Snap-on quality for you. Got another one, same thing, except for it's a cat part number, which just means it's rebranded. Some oil on that, see if I can get to break free. What do we have? 1. Probably not the greatest idea, but come on. Yeah, we're going right to nuclear. There we go. Pop the head of that off. There we go. Now we can do some testing on this thing, see if we have any issues, and it looks like we do. I see some wires from the actual windings are in here touching the outer rotor. Not a good sign. There's a nut in there. These are all rusty. That's a big deal. The brushes don't look too bad in there. You see right there, see that's a piece of copper wire right there that shouldn't be touching these. It should be down there. I thought I saw, yeah, there's another one. It's a better spot to see it. There it is, right there. So that wire is part of the windings, and it has come loose. I don't know if I can fix that or not. All right, well, we can do a basic test on this and see if we've got continuity across the slip rings, which are these two here. This is your rotor. This essentially is what creates the magnetism that produces the electric power to charge the battery. Put it on continuity. That's the noise we want to hear. Let's test across these two. So this is a slip ring and this is a slip ring. And a brush rides on each of these. So we should hear a beep. And we don't. Well, that's not good. That is not a good thing. Well, let's see if we have a continuity cross slip ring to this. Nope. Not getting the ground either. Alright, well, there's your problem. She needs a rebuild. On top of that wire, something gave up and let go on this rotor. So I don't know if it can be rebuilt. I'm not going to try it. I'm going to take it to a shop and see if they can. And if they can't, we got to get a new one. Well, now we know. The other thing we have to do is we have to get these two lines. These are these blue ones here. There's one there and one over there. Those are the transmission oil cooler lines that go to the radiator here, and they are both bad and need to be replaced. So I think I can get this one from here. That one I got to go down under. The other thing, other than just replacing the belt, is the front main seal on the crankshaft here coming out of this timing cover is bad. So I think while I've got all this out, we'll pull off this pulley and hopefully we can get in there and I think I can get enough room in there to be able to get the new seal in without taking too much apart. I had to take this cover off of the fan so I can get the belt up and through there when we get to that. But for now, let's get these lines off real quick. There we go. Got that one loose. All right, I just marked these. Got 2 marks on this fitting, 2 marks on this fitting. I'm going to put 3 marks over there on that fitting so that I can make sure that the hoses go to the right spot. All right, while I'm in this area, this is the front crankshaft pulley that runs the belt for the water pump and the alternator, and the seal right there has been leaking. So the hard part is that I don't have a transmission to hold the engine, so this will move. And I was having a hard time getting this bolt loose for the crankshaft pulley. And then I realized I have no transmission in here. So I found this bracket that had almost the right size holes. So I made these 2 holes a little bigger, put 2 bolts. There's a spacer back behind it, and then jammed a piece of wood in it, and that kept the engine from turning. So now I was able to get this crankshaft bolt broken loose, and we can take it out now. And I think there's enough room that I can get it out without touching the radiator or the fan. We'll see. There's that. Sweet. Now, I don't know if this pulley is going to be hard to get out or not. Oh, no. Oh, look at that. It's sliding right out. Sweet. Let's see here. Oh, come on. Almost there. Let's see. Maybe I move that fan. Oh, beautiful. Awesome. Well, there's the front crankshaft pulley. And there is the seal. Right there. I think what I'm going to do to get it out, Got some different chisels here. I'm going to try and go up at an angle right on the edge of it and punch some marks, try and bend it up. Should be able to pop it out. Come on now. There we go. There's the seal. And the spring is still in there. There we go. Beautiful. And so one thing that I'm wondering, we're gonna have to look at the actual pulley. Sometimes the edge of the seal wears a groove in the actual pulley. This depth is so deep that we could run that back down in there further and not have any issues with, because that's probably the depth of 2 seals. So I'm gonna check and make sure that we don't have any grooves, and if we do, we're gonna recess that seal a little bit. All right, here's our setup I think we're gonna use for pressing it in. So this is the bolt and the washer off the crankshaft pulley. This bushing here fits the OD perfectly, and it actually would punch it in and recess it. And if we need to, I've got these additional bushings and spacers we can use to adjust if we need to make a different size. So we'll take all that out with us. This is our brand new seal. We're going to put it in with some retaining compound. And then if we look at the crankshaft here, right there, that little ring, that's where the crankshaft seal has been riding, and I can feel a groove. So by punching it in further, it'll take the wear location from here to there somewhere. And so it moves it to a more virgin space so that it's fresh metal for it to ride on. I'm going to clean this edge of the pulley up. Rest of it I'm not going to worry about. And then we should be good to install the new seal. So yeah, actually went pretty painless so far. There's the old one. Here's what I came up with. So it's 1, 2, 3, and then the bolt and the spacer. Now there we are about flush. I want to go a little bit deeper. All right, I took it back in, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch. So you could almost probably get 2 seals in there. I'm gonna leave it right there. I think it'll be fine. Like I said, that is almost double the thickness, and so it'll hit a new spot on the actual pulley. Be a little further out here on the smoother area. I cleaned this all up. So let's slide this back up in there. There we go. Beautiful.
New front main seal installed. All right, I need to do this rear main seal before we go any further. So let's get that pulled. I'm right here, buddy. I'm really debating on leaving this metal liner, this metal sleeve, and just putting a seal in. I got a few different sleeves and a few different oil seals, so I might try and just hammer one in real gently and see if I can do it without having to spend the time to make the tool. Let's give that a shot first. All right, I need a way to press that new rear main seal in. So back up the other shop. Oh boy, too far. All right, so here is my bearing seal driver install kit. And it goes up to some big sizes. Let's see here. I don't know. 4.5. Come on. All right, here is the seal. It looks like that one might be pretty dang close. Not sure if it's going to work or not, because there is a little on the outside edge. And I don't have, see, I've got all these sizes that step up so beautifully, and then it jumps from like 4.5 to 6. And I got this handle that'll bolt right through it. All right, let's keep looking. I also have this stuff that I got out because I was gonna make the tool to install this. And now I wanna just kind of pound it in. So let me see what I can figure out. All right, what I think I'm gonna do, so I've got this ring here and it fits inside there and should be able to drive the seal most of the way. And then in order to hold it or hammer it, I'm gonna put this over it like that, and then we'll hammer on that. The right thing to do here is to do the sleeve as well, but it's actually in really good shape. I just don't want to mess with it right now. And if I do the sleeve, I definitely need a better way to push that on. So we're gonna go seal only on this one. going on pretty straight. The only thing that's gonna happen, and it happened to the other one, is this outer seal is gonna fold out. So I'm gonna try and get a pick, and we're gonna try and fold it under and back in. I'm taking this pick, and as you can see, this edge it got folded back in, and this edge is still sticking out. So a little unconventional, but I think we're gonna be able to get it. Just real gently. Don't want to tear it. I want to tuck it back in. There we go. Now it's all in, all the way around. Now we can pound it in a little bit further.
Line up.
There we go. Flywheel's back on. Rear main seal's replaced. Next up, put the transmission back in. And we'll be ready to rock and roll, but douse some dirt with it. Heck yeah.